I would just say, sometimes you just have to do it afraid, even if you don't feel like you have all your ducks in a row or you have, whatever. Just, I feel like excuses can hold you back and it can make you stuck. And then fear, right? Fear is a huge one that the devil loves to use to say, oh, you shouldn't say that, or who do you think you are? And those little, lies that go in your mind. And so I would just say, do it afraid.
Hi guys, welcome to the podcast. I'm so excited today. You know why? Because I have, as always, an amazing guest, and the power of networking is like, I'm such a fan. Sometimes I get introduced to an incredible person and all you got to do is say, hey, you're so cool. How do I get to meet someone just like you? And they introduced me to another amazing person, which has led me down the path to get to know Krista. And let me just tell you, we had such a great phone call that I said, please, will you do me the honor of being my guest on my podcast. So today, our show, Unveiling Journeys, we are going to be talking to Krista about her story, and I am going to let her unpack all of that. So let's just jump right in. Krista, tell me about you and who you are right now and what you're doing.
Hey, Tiffany, thank you for having me guest on your Unveiling Journeys podcast. So exciting. I love to chat. I'm a inspirational extrovert. Let's just say that. Gosh, so you want to know right now, like the right here and what's going on in my life. Right now, I am a copywriter, right? So I view myself as a Christian copywriter that enjoys empowering small businesses to connect authentically with their audiences by writing emotionally intelligent messages that are purpose-driven, help them elevate their profits, as well as make a kingdom impact. So that's kind of like my niche right now, if you will. It's super exciting. I never really know, day to day, week to week. Like you said, like who the Lord's going to have me meet, or, who's going to cross paths. And it keeps it very exciting, fresh. I love people. And so, just finding common ground and unity and just, sharing our passions. It just makes, I don't know, I think life so much more enjoyable. So yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at now. I don't know what.
No, you're fine. You're fine. It's interesting when, oh man, like copywriter. Wow, that's incredible. I've never even, for a long time, I didn't even know what copywriting was.
Me
and
neither.
Then be inspired to know what, like to go and do that. And you're inventing up words for people that don't really want to do it themselves. And you're making it better and making them more presentable and all that. But I already know your story. And what we want to hear is wait a second, you didn't just wake up and be a copywriter. Tell me your whole story. Like, how did you get here? And I want to know all the details because you started not anywhere close to copywriting. And where are you at? Tell us where you're from.
Correct. Oh, wow. I was born and raised in Wisconsin. So yes, calling out to all the cheeseheads out there, Packer fans, what have you. But yeah, so I grew up in the Midwest and went to pharmacy school in Ohio. Lived there many, many years, worked as an inpatient pharmacist for the Cleveland Clinic. My children were born there. And then we moved to upstate New York and kind of switched career paths, went into teaching, career in tech ed, secondary school, age kids.
What made you switch from tech into schooling or pharmacy tech into schooling?
I think it was burnout, honestly, for anybody that's been in healthcare working, just the 24-hour shift life and having to go from first to second to third, and cover, weekends. And as my kids got older, I could see the writing on the wall. It wasn't conducive to the lifestyle that my husband and I wanted for our children. And so I kind of just, when his job moved us, I was like, you know what? It's like, what else would the Lord have me do? And so my favorite part of, my time working as a pharmacist was the teaching and the counseling, the mentorship and all that kind of stuff. And so kind of, I don't know if it was a natural or just like, I was just drawn to it. And then, and I was like, and my parents were both teachers. So I was like, I was like, kind of fit.
I love that. Like when doors
Yeah.
just open and it doesn't even make sense. You're like, wait a
Yeah.
minute, how do I fall into this or get into
Yeah,
that?
exactly. I think you have these seasons, I call them, of life where you're just, I think people like often they get stuck and they think like, oh gosh, like I went to school for this, therefore I can only do, X or whatever. And it's like what I teach, my own children and whoever, I'm teaching or whatever, like that, you can use all your past experiences and your skill sets and your God-given talents to, you know, do so many different things. It really just, as long as your heart motives are true and authentic and stuff like that, I feel like, the sky is really the limit for what you can do. And yeah,
100%. I mean, think about how many people we hear these stories like, I reinvented myself at this age, and the number keeps just getting bigger. I'm like, well, I look up to those people. I'm like, I could reinvent myself in 10 years and it's still going to be okay. I mean, college is only so many years, or trade school, or a thing, or like you could just start all over again. And that's kind of what you end up doing. That's
It
awesome.
really is. Like it's all ages and mindset. I feel like, I think, there's no retirement in the Bible. So I feel like, for people like, well, I'm going to do this and this when I'm retired. I'm like, well, are we guaranteed like tomorrow? I don't know of anybody that knows, that they're definitely going to be here tomorrow. So I feel like if you have breath and you wake up the next day, like, today's a new day and you have new, opportunities. But I think you have to look at it in your mind like that. You can't be like, oh, well, I'll do this when I have this amount of money, or I'll do this when I have, whatever, perfect health. And sometimes, we can't control all of our circumstances, obviously. And so I feel like when an opportunity portrays itself, it's like you have to take it and, I mean, if you feel led and just do whatever that is, that you feel passionate about or what have you. And it makes life a lot more enjoyable and less stressful when you have that kind of mindset. But back to the story, so that
I was gonna say, when you went into teaching, tell us about how
did
what
that
kind of teaching
was great. And did that actually when my husband's job moved us to where we live now in the Carolinas, South Carolina. But then, obviously pandemic, and just kind of got thinking, what else would the Lord, I just felt like a tug, or I don't know how do you explain it, but just something in my spirit that wasn't at peace anymore where I was. And I was just like, you know what? All right, what do you want me to do, Lord? And he's like, I want you to be available. I'm like, okay, I have no idea what you're talking about. And I've always loved to write. I've always been, I view myself as a creative. And I had taken a children's literature writing course back when I was still living in New York. Loved it. I had an editor, and I, was writing lots of different short stories for kids. And
what do you end up doing with those short stories? Like, where do they go?
They're in my mind. They're in my papers. They're here. I've gotten one's been published, which is fun. But
that's so fun.
Yeah, it's called The Prescription. But anyways, I never knew how the Lord would like bring, I guess, writing back into my life. And so, like you said, right, I didn't even know what copywriting was, a little over 2 years ago. And that's the beauty, right, of copywriting and good marketing. It's that, compelling, persuasion, emotional triggers, into the, just the psychology of our brains and stuff like that. And that's just really, I started to research it and just, dive into it. I joined a group called the Filthy Rich Writer Comprehensive Copywriting Academy. And yeah, I just started learning. And then, the last couple of years has just been, learning, getting clients, like, doing my website, doing networking, meeting people. So I've met more people around the world, just in this last couple years.
Yeah, these little meetings, right?
Yeah, but it's so fun. And everybody has so much, just joy and just, kindness. And I think, sometimes we don't celebrate that. It's like, because we're always, news and stuff like the focus on like the negative. And it's like,
right.
You know what, at the human, of us all, like, regardless of what, faith or whatever you are, it's like we all want essentially the same things, right? To be seen and heard and loved, and to know that, our voice matters. And so that's just kind of been part of my platform that I've been using Carry Messenger for, is just that, hey, everybody has a story and everybody has value, and we can agree to disagree, but like we can, work on like, okay, where is, the commonality, and how can we do good, be good, and just enjoy life together,
Well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
You're almost kind of answering my second question that I have, is like,
Yeah.
why, when you decided to move into this, which obviously you kind of felt that inner stirring, being pushed into that, and then the doors open, and then it just works and works. But like moving into this and the journey of what it is you're in right now, why is that so important to you?
Well, I just feel like everyone can be a minister, like in their own wherever, whatever you're doing. It's like, I feel like it's a, I don't know. For me, I'm following the Lord's like command, like just to spread the
And
good
when you
news.
help all these people, like, what do you get out of that? Like, what's your big purpose in this?
When they have joy and they have like that aha moment, they feel my heart, and they something good, like I always say, beauty from ashes, like that's so powerful. And like I feel like, I want to just share that, share that joy, share that love, that because you see so much destruction and hurting and pain. It's like, yes, like we're human. I go through, we all human. Like I have my days where I'm not as whatever, but yeah, for me, like my faith is my foundation, my rock. And so I just share what my personal experience is, you know what I mean? Like that's all I can do. I don't know what anybody else is, necessarily going through. All I can do is like, if they ask, I share. If
what are some of your favorite things? Like, what do you like to write for some of your clients? Like, I imagine like a blog or an email or whatever. Like, what does a copywriter do for the clients that you have?
Yeah. So most of my clients so far have been either startups or small businesses, maybe authors, coaches, musicians, chefs, small business owners, like a lot of people that have transitioned from other careers into like their passion. I love to help those kind of entrepreneurs as well, because it's because I'm newer at building my business. Like it's fun for me to like, ooh, I did this, or hey, like I can help you with, that, or like, ooh, what if we said this in your whatever, your headline or your web copy or your email or newsletter. For me, it's just like, because I'm an inspirational extrovert, like I help like people like pull information out of them that they don't even know, that they're like, oh, I want to have thought of, like, do people really want to know that about me? I'm like, yeah, they do, because
they do.
Right.
And if you're like displaying your whole self, like on your site or through your written stuff that you're pushing to your audience, they need to know. And until they get that one-on-one, and sometimes even just this one-on-one with us, we had to have at least 30 minutes for us to unfold like your story and my story. So being able to share that for somebody, that's so cool to be able to do. Is this, I always like to ask, like, hey, what's the next big thing on the horizon? Or are you like in it right now?
Next big thing. Well, right now I'm working on doing more speaking opportunities. So I've been obviously guesting on podcasts. I'm doing some summits and like events and stuff like that, where you can share like, maybe some freebies that, like maybe a digital printable, something that you've created. I do like a lot of DIY stuff for marketing, geared towards marketing. And then, I always like to put positivity and hope in whatever topics I'm speaking on. And so, if I'm talking about, something in marketing, right, I'll put a spin on, just positivity and hope, and you know what I mean? Like how you serving someone else, like that could be, life-changing, something that you share from your own personal experience. Like it's not my responsibility to know how they're going to like, use whatever I'm sharing, or I can't control how they're going to react to it. But if my heart motive is authentic and true, then I believe it'll, do you know what I mean? Like it'll
be able to translate through.
And and
like
help.
better on paper, so that way it's documented and we can get it out to more people and push it. And SEO and social media, that's his whole other, I'll crack into that. But I was thinking to myself, last time we had a great conversation, we were talking about like books that you're reading. I was telling you about a book I'm reading, which you almost kind of touched on it, where it says like in the Bible, like we don't really talk about retirement. I know it says like work when you're in your youth, but what are some good, maybe a book that you're reading that you love, that you're digging into? Mine was like not Purpose Driven Life. It's Multiply Your God-Given Impact. And it was telling me, oh my gosh, like you have to not stop, not quit, right? Like if I have that inner stirring that I have more things I need to do, I don't need to feel guilty about it, because some people try to make you feel guilty about like, why do you work so hard? I'm like, I don't know, I just work so hard because that's who I am. That's kind of who I was supposed to be. But also I work for myself. So you can't like stop. You kind of keep going. But in that, to say, well, gosh, if you know how to go make X per year, well, just give it to the Lord and say you make double that and give half of it away. And it's just teaching me through all of that. And I know you were telling me there was a good book that you were reading. Tell us about that.
Right now, I just picked up, I'm starting to read, it's called Unleashed, and it's by Stacey Wallace.
Yeah.
And I think she wrote it back in like 2017, 18, something like that. It's been a while, but it's, I kind of cheated. I read kind of a little bit backwards, from the back of the book.
The best parts of the back, right?
But now I'm going back the right way. And I was like, okay, yeah, she's been a mentor of mine, and she's just, on fire, for the Lord. And, she's got obviously a lot more success than little old me. But I feel like, there's so much wisdom, that we can share with one another. So I'm really excited about what I've been reading and that book lately. I do book clubs like with my neighbors and friends, like the stuff. So sometimes we're just reading, whatever genre comes up, whether it's nonfiction, historical nonfiction, or, a mystery or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Perfect.
But that's right now.
That's good. That's good.
I'm bad.
I want to ask, because everybody's hearing what your heart is, where you've come from, and what you're doing right now, and that you are available for speaking and podcast and for ghostwriting. What is going to be the best way that our audience can come find you? Like, should they come follow you on where?
Probably my website. My website, www.caringmessenger.com. I have a newsletter that I do that's bi-monthly. You can get to know me better that way. I give a freebie when you sign up that way. LinkedIn, I'm usually on LinkedIn, just spreading positivity, or, making, I don't like to.
Don't feel so excited about LinkedIn, by the way. I know it's a daunting task, but I mean, anybody that needs a copywriter, they're probably on LinkedIn. So that's where Krista's hanging out.
Yeah.
That's good. What we'll do is we'll put all the links down below, so that way you don't have to dig in. The website is going to be good, so that way everybody can sign up for your newsletter on there. And we'll put that in all the show notes for everything. Are there any really good nuggets, or like some of your favorite pieces of wisdom that you want to share with the audience before we go?
I would just say, sometimes you just have to do it afraid, even if you don't feel like you have all your ducks in a row, or you have, whatever. Just, I feel like excuses can hold you back, and it can make you stuck. And then fear, right? Fear is a huge one that the devil loves to use to say, oh, you shouldn't say that, or who do you think you are? And those little, lies that go in your mind. And so I would just say, do it afraid. There's a lot more good, I think, out there than people realize. And so don't be afraid to ask, for referrals, or for help, or for, I would say don't be easily offended, because it's easy to get offended, but at the same time, do your best to live at peace with everyone, and not purposely offend someone if you can help it. But and just
it's tough to do in this world, right? We just do what we do.
Yeah.
Have you ever heard that? Like, there's a bunch of them, but I like whenever you get to hear the acronym for certain words. And one of my favorites was for fear. It's like FEAR. You could write like a new word for every letter. And it was false evidence appearing real. And some people are like, what do you mean by that? I'm like, well, think about it. Kids are scared of the dark because they don't know what's in it. And so if we're scared of the unknown, whenever we turn on the light, per se, like a child, well, now we're not scared because now we can see where we're at. Oh, it's not dark in here anymore. But I say, powering through the education and stuff, it's the fear of the unknown. And so when we turn on the light to open the knowledge well, you almost kind of start to see you don't know what you don't know. But if you can just push through or fare forward in some of those things, being able to see in that, it does help you move forward in it. But sometimes like not quit, not give up. Those are some of my favorite things too. I love that you brought those up.
Exactly.
Thank you so much. We are coming to the end of our time. I'm so grateful that you were able to take some quiet time. I know we both didn't have kids right now for both of our shows today. It's nice to be able to catch up before they come home, right? And then everybody, I want you to take an opportunity to go and click in the links below here. So that way you can go definitely to Krista's website so that you can sign up for her positive message twice a month. It's not a blog, right? It's a
newsletter.
Newsletter.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Or email. Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah.
of newsletter.
It's
So you can
short,
sign up for a
sweet.
newsletter. Perfect.
Yeah.
And that way you can have that positivity right back in your life, and you can have at your fingertips your next ghostwriter that you're going to want to hire, or your next lovely podcast guest that you can have. And with that, thank you so much. Anything else you want to leave with anybody today?
Thanks for having me. And it's always a joy to meet new people, and you're beautiful. So thank you, Tiffany, for having me. God bless.
I love it. Thank you. Bye.